Welcome to the Puberty Prof podcast, where information and tools are shared to help you have conversations about puberty and other growing up topics. Here is your host, Lori Reichel, the Puberty Prof, a nationally recognized health educator, author of the award-winning book, Common Questions Children Ask About Puberty, and creator of the Talk Puberty app.
Hi, and welcome to the Puberty Prof podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lori Reichel, the Puberty Prof. Today's episode is titled Loving Oneself for Valentine's Day. Actually, this episode is being released on Valentine's Day, although even if you're listening to it at a later date, it's still applicable because every day we need to remember to love ourselves. Before I continue, I would like to remind you that if you'd like to watch this episode on my YouTube channel, please go to Lori Reichel, the Puberty Prof on YouTube. So like I noted, today's episode is titled Loving Oneself for Valentine's Day, and it's episode 83. And the reason why I chose this topic for Valentine's Day, as well as afterwards, is because it is so important for us to love ourselves as adults or as young people. And it's so important that we model this loving behavior for others. Sometimes we forget how impactful our behaviors are on others. So if you're working with young people, or if you are a young person, recognize you are able to have such a positive influence by demonstrating how can we love ourselves, basically. This whole episode today is going to cover 5 different ways that you might choose to love yourself, which includes to move your body, to analyze the messages around you, to limit social media time, to honor what your body does, and to give yourself a date night. Let me explain what each of these are about. First, move your body. Some years ago, when I was teaching in Wisconsin, I had a student who basically wheeled himself into the classroom. Actually, he didn't wheel himself. His wheelchair was operated by a battery, so that's what wheeled him in. He was in a health education class, and at one point in the class, when we were talking about the importance of physical health and moving one's body, he shared his story about how he used to be able to move around like most of us can until he got into an accident when he was riding his motorcycle. His message to the other college students was, honor your body, move your body, because you never know, one day you might not be able to. So I thank him, and I hope he's on the podcast in the future. I'm going to reach out to him to see if he can be. But I thank this student of mine for reminding all of us to honor what we have with our bodies. So move it, in which when we move our bodies, it releases endorphins. I know when I did a fitness walk/jog today, I felt better afterwards. And I also feel that my brain can think a little bit clearer. So us actually physically moving our body, it releases these chemicals that helps us physically be better. It helps our heart. It also helps our joints, our muscles, and it also helps our thinking and emotions. So please move your body, in which doing so is one way that you love yourself. Another thing we can do is to analyze the messages around us. In episode 82, I had Judy Lobianco on the episode, and she was our guest. She spoke about how we need to teach young people and be cognizant ourselves as adults of all the influences that surround us. So we do have some within us, yet we have so many influences, like at the interpersonal level, which is a social network overall, an organizational level, community level, the public policy level. We also have physical environments. We also have culture or cultural influences, in which this is an action I ask my students to do. I want them to analyze the messages that they get around them so they can be the best person. Analyzing the messages around you link to the next way that you can love yourself And it's an influence that has become more popular in our society today. And it deals with limiting social media time. I actually have on my screen right now, if you're listening to this and you're not watching this episode on YouTube, you would see a whole bunch of paint, like on a palette and a paintbrush, in which I encourage people, if you can step away from using the phones, the tablets, the computers, the TVs that have all these different channels on and everything, because there's something about being disconnected that actually helps us be more present and can actually have us feel better about ourselves. There will be an episode later on this month that's going to include how we can self regulate ourselves with all the different electronics we have in our life. And if you ever get a chance to read the book Calm, CALM, you'll understand how our brains are being trained in a way for looking at social media or just even our phones, in which it's like a reward system. We actually have a chemical that's released, it's called dopamine. So it's recommended here for you to love yourself, to limit social media time, to allow yourself to have natural dopamine releases. Supporting our limiting of social media exposure is research. So there is research that tells us that media exposure contributes to body dissatisfaction and disordered eating. So, although there can be some positive body imagery, and we're seeing that more with more full figured people, people of different sizes in commercials or on ads on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, we need to note that the research tells us that constantly looking at social media can alter our perceptions of ourselves because we do this comparison to the people that we see on the screen, in which one study found that 87% of women and 65% of men compare their bodies to images that they see on social and traditional media. And your body is yours. There's a reason why we all have different body shapes and types. And part of that is genetics. Part of it is just, yeah, our culture. And I want you to embrace your body, love your body. Regarding children, we know that there are children as young as 5 years old that start expressing dissatisfaction with their bodies. 5 years old. And I know when I worked with elementary school children, I think they're great. I think they need to love their bodies, and we need to model that as adults about how much we love our bodies. So, a reminder, if you have some challenges about how you perceive your body, that you have a negative body image, attempt to not show that to children and youth around you. Attempt to be positive about your body. So, the third thing for loving yourself for Valentine's Day includes limiting social media time. Number four is honor what your body does. I actually asked a former guest, Elle Mark, to come back onto the podcast. Unfortunately, our schedules didn't connect, yet she reminded me of how many people, even in her life, they don't appreciate their bodies. It's like they're like, oh, look at this stomach. Oh, look at this. And they kind of touch themselves and they're like kind of like implying that they have too much weight there in their stomach. And what El Mark had reminded me of is that your stomach does great things. Actually, inside, it digests all those foods. So why would you diss your body for doing such a wonderful thing of helping digest what you put into your body? So something that I've done with young people of all different ages is I would first do a body scan. And a body scan is first having a person sit and putting on their mindful bodies, like nothing would be crossed, you're sitting comfortably, and putting attention from your toes to the rest of your foot, up your legs, all the way to our bottom and our lower abdomen area, and then going up even to our chest, shoulders, going to our hands, and then up our arms, and then doing different parts of your face, just bringing attention to those body parts, because bringing attention helps us become more centered and just brings awareness, general awareness to maybe we have a sore we didn't recognize, maybe we're ticklish, feeling cold or something. But something that I then do with a lot of my students is I have them go in the reverse direction with their body and to say thank you to these parts. So let's say that I was bringing attention to somebody's nose. I'd say thank you to your nose. It helps bring in oxygen and helps release other things your body doesn't need anymore. Let's bring attention to your shoulders and how sometimes we have to carry a lot of weight. And I mean emotional and mental weight sometimes. Let's bring attention to our hips and how strong our hips are and how helpful that our hips enable us to move. Let's bring attention to our legs and how lucky we are to have them be so strong that they're able to bring us from one place to another. Let's bring attention to our stomachs because it helps us digest food. And I would point out other things. I think even one of the things I would point out for our hips is like it gives us shape. And why not love your shape and thank your body for what your body does? And I know that former student of mine from Wisconsin would agree to honor and love what your body does. Thank your body. I will say I do attempt to honor my body by moving my body. So that goes back to the first thing I recommended you do to love your body. And one of my goals in life is to do a headstand without any kind of support. And I've been working on that for some time. And I hope to one day reach that goal and then keep it for a while. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see a photo of that, and it's somebody at the beach doing a headstand. They're supported by their arms. So that's my goal. The last thing that I'm recommending for loving your body, especially since it goes with the theme of Valentine's Day, is to give yourself a date night. What this means is to plan something for yourself, even if it's for an hour, just for you. If it's to watch one of your favorite shows uninterrupted, okay, do that. If it's, okay, this is one of my favorite things that I recommend for people to try. It's to take a shower by candlelight. It's different that when you don't have a light on in the bathroom, if you have a candle in the shower area, of course, be careful of the shower curtain. Yet when you have a candle in the shower area with you, it's just a totally different experience. It like slows you down. And for me, it makes me appreciate the moment. So if that doesn't float your boat, think of something else. Maybe a date night would be, to go to Friendly's. Friendly's is something I remember when I was growing up, and that was a special treat of going and getting a Reese's Pieces sundae. Oh, that maybe I'll think of doing that in the next month because I do have a Friendly's nearby. Perhaps a date night, though, would even be giving yourself a manicure or pedicure. I recommend it's something that you do for yourself because this whole concept of loving ourselves, it's about appreciating who we are. Truthfully, I get a lot of messages at times that sometimes are negative. And it's like some people in our lives will tell us things that really don't define who we are. It's more, I don't know why people do that. And I attempt that when I have somebody like that in my life, I attempt to limit the conversations with them or send them a silent blessing or recognize they're going through something on their own because I know I'm worthwhile, just like you are. Whoever's listening in, you are worthwhile. And I need you to love yourself for who you are. There's a reason why you're on this planet. So please model this love by demonstrating to others, including young people. Demonstrate the self-love by moving your body, by analyzing your influences, by limiting social media time, by being grateful for what your body does. I love that the brain helps us all breathe and the heart go. And I love that the heart is pumping and everything. And then also consider giving yourself a date night. That concludes today's episode. I truly wish you the very, very best. If you'd like to get in touch with me, please go to pubertyprof.com or email me at pubertyprof@gmail.com. Please love yourself. There's a reason why you're on this planet, and I'm grateful for that. Thanks for listening in. I hope you have a happy and healthy day.
Thank you for listening to the Puberty Prof podcast, where information and tools are shared to help you have conversations about puberty and other growing up topics. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow the Puberty Prof on Twitter or Instagram. The Puberty Prof, Lori Reichel, wants to hear from you. Go to pubertyprof.com or click on the link in this episode's description. There you can find more information, as well as ask questions to be answered by the Puberty Prof in a future episode. That's pubertyprof.com. Also, remember to check out the Talk Puberty app and the book, Common Questions Children Ask About Puberty. Until next time, this is the Puberty Prof Podcast, where information and tools are shared to help you have conversations about puberty and other growing up topics.